Does that make sense? You guys with me? Okay. So, good. So on this one, if you take your 110 times your 25% and take that away from 110, you end up with 82.50. You can't take off this because now I'm below 100. So if I use coupon 1 first, I'd end up spending this much. But that $100 stipulation is not on coupon number 1. So if I use coupon number 2 first, I can still apply the 25% off discount here, which takes my total down to what? Did anybody get that? Anybody? 67.5? Yeah. Perfect. So this time it would be better. Okay? So you guys were right. When you spend less money, you'd want to take the amount of money off. Okay? So if I'm at a store, your percentage coupon is better for more money. And your amount off coupon is better for less money spent. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay, let's go to, I'm going to go ahead and skip this one just because it's Wednesday. And we're going to go ahead and talk taxes and tips. Another predictable, right, percentage. Okay? I can predict how much money I'm going to spend on dinner, right? So when I used to take my mom out for Mother's Day, we would always like split a meal and split an appetizer. But then if I take my dad out, he thinks it's funny to be like, oh, well, you're buying lobster, steak, you're right? So I always know I'm probably going to spend, right? If I took my mom out, like $30 on dinner. If I take my dad, I'm at least spending $100, at least, right? That's predictable, right? It's also predictable how much money I'm going to spend on taxes and tipping, right? What's a pretty good tip in your guys' opinion? 5%? 5%? 10%? 20%? Those people make $3 an hour. Yeah, Regina.
We always tip them $20 or more. We don't use percentage.
Woo! I should be a waitress where Regina's family goes. That's amazing. That's good though, right? I know tipping's a scam because restaurants are just trying to pay their people less, but that's not the poor waiter's fault, right? 15 to 20% is probably pretty average, right? $20, that's so generous, right? That's great, okay? So here, let's figure out, how do we figure out how to tip, or if I could guess, right? So let's say my dinner costs $12.95, okay? Tax, that's Utah tax, that's always going to be added on there. Okay, turn that into a decimal, 0.0875. Okay, so then how do I figure out how much taxes are going to be? Okay, I got $1.13. Is that what you guys got? Do you guys know if restaurants, when you're given the total, and have you guys ever seen those receipts that say like possible tip amounts, and it'll say like 12%, 15%, 20%, 25% at the bottom, right? Do you guys know, do they figure that out before or after they add tax in? It's after. Yeah, it's after. It probably should be before, right? But you know how like on a receipt at a restaurant, you have like the breakdown of like all your stuff, and then there's like one number that's like bigger than the rest of them? That's always after taxes have been added in. So when I decide how much I'm going to tip here, I'm not going to apply it to the $12.95. I'm actually going to add those together first. So $12.95 plus the $1.13. So before I add the tip, now you don't have to do that, but most of the time, since we're trying to do real world percentages and probabilities and stuff today, right? I'm going to take my tip off of the $14.08 because that's what it would be at most of the time when you go to a restaurant, okay? So how generous should we be? I'd love to do the plus $20, but that is too easy, and we're trying to do percentages today. So I'm going to make you do a percentage, okay? 15? Okay, let's do 15%. So when I was in college, I waitressed for 5 years at Red Lobster. And I remember one time I had someone come in and put like a fat stack of singles on the table. And they were like, every time you make me mad, I'll take one away. And every time you make me happy, I'll add another $1. I'm like, okay. At least evil. I appreciate the honesty. The worst is when someone's super nice to you and friendly the whole time, and then all they do to tip is round up to the next $1. I prefer the blatant honesty to the passive-aggressive niceness any day. Life lesson from Miss Summers. Here you go. No, don't be passive-aggressive. Be aggressive-aggressive.
Just be aggressive.
No, just be honest. Okay, 0.15 plus the 14.08. Okay, so let's answer the question. All I have is a $20 bill. Do I have enough? Yeah, how much am I spending on dinner? I got $16.19. Is that what you guys got? Yeah?
Oh, yeah, probably.
What do you mean probably?
Well, I didn't solve it. I got that now.
Okay.
I didn't have it.
Does anyone have any questions on this? Any questions on why this is predictable instead of probable? Yeah, Maddie?
What's the math for turning a decimal into a percentage?
So you're dividing it by 100, but what you're doing is, so the rest of the unit, right? When we divide numbers on our calculator, let's say I divided 1/3, on your calculator you get this, right? And we'd take it and we'd move the decimal place over 2 to turn it into a percent, right? So what we're doing is the opposite. So if I wanted to tip 15%, you're taking the decimal place and moving it the other way 2 places. Okay? So instead of timesing by 100, it's like we're dividing by 100. Okay? Anyone else? Okay. If I asked you guys what the odds were of when I flip a coin, if it's 50-50, whether it's heads or tails, that sounds like something you'd probably say, yeah, it's 50-50, right? Okay, so there's this mathematician that, his name is Percy. He actually, his whole life's work is he proved that it's not a 50-50. That there's outside factors. Well, the head side of a quarter has more weight to it than the tail side. Also, depending on how much dirt or grime is on it, right? He also proved that for long-term studies, when you flip a coin, if it starts out heads up, it's most likely to be heads up. If it starts out tails up, it's most likely to be tails up when you do it. So like at the Super Bowl, whoever's calling it, right? They're going to want to, they always try and get a glimpse of if the quarter is heads up or tails up before the ref flips the coin. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to try an experiment now. Okay, so we're going to move back to real world percentages that are not predictable, but real world situations and percentages that are more probable, like what we've been doing the rest of the unit. So you're starting out with $1,000, okay? I'm going to come around and give each of you a quarter. You're going to keep track here. If your quarter starts out heads up or tails up, then I want you to take a guess on if you think it's going to end up being heads or tails after you flip it. And then once you flip it, just keep track yes or no if you got your prediction right. Add $100 to your 1,000 for each prediction you get right, and take away 100 for each one you get wrong. And then we're going to see who won money, quote unquote, and who lost money at the end. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay, cool.